My name is Mariah Campbell. I am 27 years old, and my journey on veganism started in 2009 when I went to college. And I did another video on this, but I really didn't have time to go in depth, really the backstory of everything. So I was going to college originally for education, but I switched over to philosophy. And my first philosophy class was, of course, Ethics 101. And we would talk about veganism and vegetarianism and also animal ethics. My philosophy teacher was a known vegetarian. And everyone thought she was really cool, you know, really an enlightened being. She had this presence about her that made her really inspirational to people and to me. So when I started thinking more about this and talking with other people about it, it just seemed to make sense to me at the time to try a vegetarian or vegan diet. So at the college campus cafeteria, they had soy patties and soy milk available pretty much on tap if you paid for your yearly like expenses to go to the cafeteria. And I was on it for only 2 weeks and it did not go very well for me. So that was my first step into it. And I just thought, well, I'm doing it wrong. Of course, I can't figure out exactly what nutrients I need, or so I need to like research and talk to other people about this more before I really go into it. But I finished up that course with an A. You know, of course, I was talking with other people about vegetarianism and how it is the right thing to do, but I just haven't figured out how to do it yet. And there were also activists on campus all the time. Of course, they allow people like that on college campuses, you know, to expand your mind and kind of get yourself out there and learn other perspectives. But I also took a pamphlet home, and I had a 5-year-old sister. She was 5 at the time at home, and I took it home to show my mom, like, I kind of want to try this. But of course it had like the slaughterhouse stuff in there, and my 5-year-old sister somehow got a hold of it and was like, what is this? And so I kind of explained it to her, and she actually quit eating meat for like 6 months because of it. And she's not anything like that anymore. But yeah, so that was kind of like my first step into it. And my mom, of course, was totally freaked out. She said, "Oh, I can't believe that she's not eating meat anymore." You know, it just kind of shows how easily they can suck you in and make you feel bad. And so, but I still wasn't a vegetarian. And we would go on and talk about different things in philosophy, but a lot of it came back to like ethics. And I kept thinking about like Peter Singer, and I was reading books about Temple Grandin, that autistic like veterinarian lady, and how she would talk about animal emotional, you know, their emotional side, their psychology or whatever. So I've always had this history of anxiety, depression, and when I got into college, I was on birth control, and I broke up with my boyfriend, so I stopped being on birth control for the first time, and my acne just exploded. So I had horrible acne. I wanted to find out how to clear that up. So I was looking into all of this health stuff, trying to research, but there really wasn't that much information out there yet. Back in 2009, I don't think the internet was like it is today. So I eventually dropped out of college due to personal reasons. I just couldn't emotionally handle it anymore. So I went back to my mom's house and I started working at a health food store down in Naples, Florida. By the way, the college that I went to before was University of South Florida. That was in Tampa.
Hmm.
So I moved back to Naples and I started working at a health food store. And it was just a mom and pop shop. I mean, the people that owned the place didn't really have like degrees or an education background in health. They just, started it up because they saw some good effects of herbs and decided to get into the business and all that. But they had all these different kinds of speakers come in, vegetarian speakers, and I have a couple books I can show you. This guy came in, and he was one of the guys that got me into the raw food thinking. Craig B. Somers, naturopathic doctor and certified nutritionist. Don't really know, it wasn't from board certified or anything. Not that it really matters anyway, but he and I have other books too. This other guy that came in, he was a chef, raw alkaline chef and all of that. So all these people coming in, doing these talks about how raw food, balancing your body's pH and things like that, especially getting off of like the meat diet was super important. And of course, I came across a whole bunch of other books like the China Study. So everything was really pushing me toward being vegan. But when I kind of introduced this idea to the owners, it's like their attitude completely changed. Like, I don't really think you should do that. You know, what blood type are you? I said, well, I'm A positive. And they said, oh, well, you might be okay then, for a little while, but I really wouldn't recommend doing it long term. And I'm thinking in my head, well, why do you have all these people come in doing talks about it and they're selling all this crap that you sell, like protein shakes, protein powders, green powdered foods. I mean, just everything. All these supplements. So I was kind of getting mixed messages and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go for it. So
What did they
I
say?
started,
Why do they invite those people? Did they answer?
no, they, I think that their main excuse when I said, well, I don't really know, I'm kind of getting confused here because the people that you invite say this. I think they said something like, well, we want to invite all perspectives. We want to be more holistically minded and things like that, including everyone's perspective, catering to whoever comes in, like obviously really not pushing what they really think or how they really feel about it. They just want to sell stuff. So I just went for it anyway. So when I first started, it was the first 3 days I had completely black stool, and it was really shocking to me. But apparently that's normal going on a more natural diet because I had been eating processed junk food like all my life. I grew up on Lucky Charms and, you know, um, all kinds of processed fried food crap. So I really can't say that or veganism didn't make me feel horrible when I was doing like the raw food stuff. For the first year, I felt great. And I think that was just because I wasn't eating processed shit and I was eating a lot of organic stuff. Um, I was biking to work. It was about a 10-mile bike ride, and getting more exercise and doing yoga and trying to be more spiritually minded and things like that. And I felt really good about that. And around that time, I the people there were kind of pissing me off because I was promoting veganism and they didn't really like me promoting veganism to other people. So they fired me for business reasons. They wouldn't give me a reason, you know. It's like, so I applied to a vegan restaurant, and there just so happened to be one in Naples, Florida at the time. They're closed down now, but this was we're in May 2012. I applied, they accepted, and I started working there full time for a year and a half. And that was crazy. Oh, okay. First of all, I was the only vegan there besides the owners. So like all the waitresses and the people in the back were the chefs and everything. They weren't vegan, but y'all ate the food anyway while we were there. But oh, the people that came in, it was like these spiritual guru people that would walk in dressed like in all white and having like this posse with them, and it was just crazy. Like these yoga instructors who were like rail skinny and promoting the vegan diet. Like I would get into hour-long conversations with these people about how veganism was bad for the environment, how eating meat is horrible for your health. And, I was spreading this disinformation to everyone that I could possibly talk to. So, but there were a lot of health nuts in there, very like high-strung, anxious, pretentious prick people come in. Like they just thought that they were the greatest, most enlightened, fifth dimensional light beings possible. Like this crazy, crazy, crazy shit. Anyway, yeah, I mean, it was really eye-opening, the whole like cult of it. It was, and then of course when you walk in, we had this celebrity wall of all the people that are vegan to kind of like make you feel, oh, this is acceptable. This was started, that restaurant chain was started by a Buddhist monk. She was actually a female Buddhist, and she started this chain. And in Thailand, or Thailand, it's a little bit different, but in America, they translated it to the Loving Hut. So it was kind of funny because you had some people come in thinking that we were not a restaurant. Right. Anyway, so yeah, it was more like from the ethical perspective and about why we were vegan. And I mean, I did talk to a lot of people about the health perspective, but they really didn't have much of a grasp on that. It was more of the ethical side of it, the environmental side of it, how we're so overpopulated and da-da-da. And they also gave me another book. They gifted this to me one time called The World Peace Diet. I read through that a little bit, but it just kind of cemented in my mind that, oh, this is definitely, we can achieve world peace with this diet and all that. So I started having problems. I was riding, again, 15 miles a day to work and back. And I mean, the round trip was 15 miles. And I was feeling really good. And then second year being vegan, I really started feeling terribly. And I was starting to have ulcer symptoms. I thought it was due to stress, honestly. And then also when I was going through the back, when I was doing laundry and stuff, I saw that they had literally like bottles of food, like meat flavoring, that contained MSG, monosodium glutamate. And the whole aspect of of the restaurant was nothing has MSG. We don't add any artificial, flavor enhancers. So I confronted them about this, and they said, "Oh, we don't use that. We cook with that for family events." And once maybe every 6 months, they had a big family event there that they would close down the restaurant and have a celebration or something. But I'm thinking, why would you want or need to use MSG, even if it's just for your family, if you're promoting this, and why would you even feed the people that you love that? So that really confused me. So I was just really upset, and I felt lied to, and things weren't going well with my boyfriend at the time, who I also converted to veganism. We were both vegan. And so I decided to move back to my hometown in Indiana. So I moved 1,500 miles north, and I was still vegan, still pushing it, promoting it. I started studying permaculture so that maybe I could create like my own food forest system someday, where I could have all these fruits and vegetables, hopefully all the time in Indiana. Yeah, sure, that's possible. But I was dreaming anyway, and I got my certificate in permaculture design, and I met someone here. I was trying to learn about beekeeping, because I really didn't think that honey was that big of a deal to eat being vegan. And I wanted to try to eat more honey and things like that. I don't know, it was for the like raw enzyme content, or it was some reason, health reason why I wanted to. And I met someone here that did beekeeping, and he was also a hunter and fisher. And we got into these conversations like, no, how can you do that? I don't understand. And he would tell me, well, if you think about it this way, that like deer in Indiana really overpopulated because of all the soybean fields and the corn fields. They just have an endless supply of food. He said that if we don't, hunt them and take care of them, they're going to eat all of your food. So you kind of better thank me that I'm killing these deer for you. And I just never thought about that. It's like, wow, that's revelation. And it should have been like, duh, common sense. But vegans don't think about this type of thing. All they think is like a one-track mind. It is totally focused on, I am only eating plants. Therefore, I'm not killing any animals. Therefore, I am completely ethical, and life, and there is no death, So I that really got me thinking. And then I was looking also into Freely the Banana Girl. I watched a lot of her videos, and her talking about how acidity in meat promotes cancer and all of that. And if we just all went vegan, we would never have any cancer. And and from her, I heard of something called Chronometer, which you go online and have you ever heard of Chronometer? You put in all of your information and you learn what you ate that day, what nutrition you got, and all of that. I don't really know how legitimate it is, but I started using it, trying to get all of what I needed in that day. And it was extremely hard, because they consider kale to be one of the most highest nutrition foods. I was eating a lot of kale in order for me to even try to reach the basics of what I needed to be. So I was cooking cups and cups of kale and eating it, and I was eating nuts and fruit and a lot of bananas. So I was also working at a hospital at the time, and I worked at that hospital from, I think it was June or July, and in October, finally, I started getting sick. And I thought, it's probably just something I picked up from the hospital, like a flu or cold or something. And the first time I noticed symptoms, I skipped a few days of work because I was like, I've got to get over this. I feel awful. It didn't go away though. So I said, I have to go back to work. I'm just going to have to work through this. So I went back to work and it didn't stop for a month and a half, almost 2 months. I had this constant cold and flu. And I honestly think that if I had stayed in a tropical climate, I could have been vegan probably for a lot longer with less, signs of me being deficient in things. I think because just the temperature change and you being cold all of the time, like I didn't have regulated body temperature at all, which is common theme among vegans and vegetarians. But I was sick for 1.5 months and nothing I was doing was good. Like really the freaking banana girl. I was eating like 20 bananas a day, like trying to be healthy, and it just wasn't working. So I finally broke down and ate a couple eggs for dinner. My family and the guy, Hunter Fisherman, became my boyfriend, and he was like, look, you've got to try to eat something. And so I said, okay, if I eat eggs, then I'll see how it goes. But if I don't feel any better after eating these eggs, I am not doing it. Well, the next day I woke up and like half my symptoms were gone. And I remember thinking, oh shit, like not really happy that I was feeling well, but fuck. I had to tell all my vegan friends to go shove it and say I'm doing what's best for me. And they were literally harassing me, my vegan friends. So I just had to delete them off of my Facebook. It got so bad to the point where my dad is on Facebook too. He got into the conversation and was fighting for me and my whole family, like kind of jumped in because they were waiting for me to get off this vegan trip. But yeah, then it just progressed from there. I ate fish, I ate chicken. I started studying herbalism a little bit because I wanted to try to still be healthy as possible. And that's pretty much it. But I also want to say that your videos about eating raw meat and stuff have really inspired me to try to eat more raw foods. I have been drinking raw milk since June 2017. I drank a little bit of raw milk, and it came straight from a farmer that I know. He's actually a relative of mine. But he talked to me a lot about the old way of doing things, the old ways of farming, and how raw milk is really good for you, and how they, fed it to some babies and stuff like that. So I thought, well, it can't be that bad for you then. If they supplemented the women who couldn't breastfeed as well, they supplemented that with raw cow's milk and fed the baby. I'm like, okay. And no babies ever got sick. I kept asking him that. He's like, no, not that I know of. But he did tell me that some people don't know how to take care of their raw milk. Like, he went to one lady, and this was probably back in the 60s. She was milking the cow, and she would let the dog like lick out of the bowl. And then like if the cow, he met another guy, and if the cow got poop in the bucket or whatever, he just scooped it out, and he was like, I'll filter that 2 times. It's like, no. So it's kind of stuff like that where you just have to be really careful about where you get it from. So he was kind of warning me of that. And he also taught me, because we started having chickens and things like that. And I had this nasty rooster who would attack me every single time I went out there. And I was pregnant, and I thought, I really don't want that rooster to be around my little one. So I'm gonna butcher him because I already had I had um we got like 12 chicks and 5 of them turned out to be roosters. So, and they were all like running around raping the hens. So it was terrible because, that's just how animals are. So I thought, well, I need to butcher all of these, and I have zero experience doing it. So I went over there and he taught me how to butcher them and go through them and everything, which I wasn't really disgusted with it. I was surprised at myself, like, this isn't actually that bad. It just felt more natural. So, and then that winter, last winter, my husband got a deer and he brought it home and we started processing it and butchering it. And we froze a lot of venison. And I've been eating that now lately raw. I've been thawing it and setting it in the fridge for a little bit and then eating it like a venison tartare. I've tried putting a little bit of raw egg on it, and that did not go over well with me. But I have been putting raw egg and raw milk and making like a smoothie out of it. And it's really, really good. I have that for breakfast. I've been doing that almost every day for a week. And I can tell a difference, seriously. I've been watching a lot of Augenis von der Planet's videos and things like that, and he's really opened my mind. It just, clicked. It just made sense. We did this for who knows how long before, millions of years before, and we can do it again. It's not that hard. So I just want to say thank you for doing what you're doing. And if it takes shocking people in order to get the idea across that you can do this, it's okay. I think that it's worth it. But yeah, that's pretty much my whole diet, like total 180 from vegan to now.
How long were you vegan altogether then? And when was it that you ate the eggs for the first time?
The eggs for the first time were November of 2014, and I completely stopped eating like cold turkey, no meat for, it was back in 2011. Yeah, late 2011, like in November 2011. So yeah, 3 years.
Okay. Did you get into supplements and all of that?
Yeah. Well, I actually didn't get that much into supplements. I only took B12 because I felt like if you had to take supplements, you were cheating. I never got that far into veganism, like that I would stoop so low as to survive on supplements because I thought, well, that's just wrong. If it's a perfect diet, you should be able to get everything that you need. You don't need supplements. So, but I did take B12 because I had read that even meat eaters are low in B12 in their blood tests and everything. Some meat eaters are. So I just thought, well, everyone is deficient in B12 because of that silly myth about we're washing our food too much. We don't eat the dirt and the bacteria from the dirt. You eat that and then you get enough B12 or something. Or the bacteria in your gut is producing B12 and I just don't have enough bacteria. I don't want to eat that bacteria or dirt. So I'll take a B12 supplement. And it did help for probably the first month. And I was taking multivitamins. For a little bit, I think for like a year, I was taking multivitamins, and then I was like, oh, screw it, because again, I don't want to be cheating. But I was spending like $15 a month on the B12 and $60 to $70 a month on a raw vegan supplements. And I was switching back and forth between different supplements all the time. So that's why I say 60 to 70, maybe sometimes $80 a month on supplements. I was spending a whole lot of money on food. It's extremely expensive being vegan. I don't know what people are talking about when they say, oh, it's expensive eating a raw meat diet. You should try eating a raw vegan diet. All organic. Try it. You will go bankrupt.
Looking back at it now, would you say that veganism was a mistake or did you learn something from it?
Of course, I learned something from it. I kind of wish that I could have just learned it from someone else and have it not be me. Um, it did, I mean, yeah, I would say that it was a good thing that happened, even though it probably hurt my health in the long run. But it just gave me a new perspective on eating naturally, and it also gives me a lot of credence when vegans try to talk me into being vegan or fruitarian or whatever. And I'm like, no, I really don't think that's a good diet. Well, why not? Why don't you try it? Actually, I did. I was vegan for 3 years. So it really does help, and it kind of opens other people's minds to it. So yeah, I took one for the team.
Do you have any contact with any of those vegan friends now, or not at all anymore?
No, 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 because I'm just scared to even, well, no, there was this one guy, and he was from Russia, and he moved to the US, and he's like a fruitarian farmer. He lived in, that's the reason why he moved to Florida, because he just wanted to eat fruit all the time. So he bought this place and was like renovating it and to become a total fruit farm. So he grew banana trees and mango trees and all that kind of stuff. And he basically lived off of that. I went to his house one time and we ate a bunch of passion fruit together, like a huge bowl, like 40 passion fruits all in one sitting. So yeah, he never was terrible to me, actually. And I still am friends with him on Facebook, and he's still a fruitarian, but his health is not good. Like his teeth are rotting and falling out, and he looks a lot older than he is. So, yeah.
What do you think is the future of veganism?
That it's just going to keep progressing. I think it's important that I shared the part about my college experience, because I think that they're indoctrinating kids into this, and the government is okaying it. And with the whole food pyramid being 5 to 11 servings of bread a day, because that's a lot of times I was living off of breads and carbs and rice. And in my herbalism stuff, they don't recommend a vegetarian or vegan diet, because they do cite that there has been no tribe or any native peoples that have been vegan and survived. So, but they do recommend a bunch of soaked, you have to soak them for 24 to 48-hour grains and fully cook them, and they have to be in their full form and da da da, which I don't believe that anymore. So I've kind of stopped studying with them, because I think that that's a bunch of bull crap. Because I tried to get other people who said that they can't handle grains or whatever to try that, and that's supposed to be the perfect diet, is these like detoxing diet, is these soaked grains with some sort of bean or lentil, which is also soaked and rinsed repeatedly to get all of the phytic acid out and stuff. So no, I think it's going to keep going. I think it's going to keep getting bigger until enough people like you and me and a bunch of other people like from your channel will get together and try to re-educate people on how we should be eating.
Do you think that somebody is pushing it?
Yeah, someone in the government is pushing it, I'm sure, because why would they okay it? And also scientific studies, and I experience this as a vegan too, you have contradicting scientific studies all the time. And it just seems like the trend of the year, which scientific study we're going to go with this year. And, everything is funded by either companies or corporations, big ag, big pharma. It's not really the government per se, but it's whoever is controlling the money behind the government. Monsanto, I really don't know. If I had to guess, it would be a big corporation like that.
Could you sum up the health issues you had, and which one was the worst that really made you quit?
Um, The ulcers were pretty bad. But I would say just constantly after moving, constantly having cold and flu symptoms. And like I'm a sensitive individual and I don't let things get horrible before I stop, you know?
Mm.
So it's not like I was on the verge of death, but it was not good for me. So just probably feeling sick and yo-yoing between good, feeling great, and then feeling horrible. So I would say that, but a lot of people experience that on just the regular, food pyramid diet. So it wasn't really much different from that. It's just that, well, I'm not feeling superiorly enlightened and I don't feel like this burst of energy like I did in the beginning. And I don't feel this amazing health that vegans push that they have. So I would just say the worst part was feeling like I was lied to and the whole emotional and social strain of being vegan and having to eat like that and having to think about food constantly. I mean, when I was waking up, I would be thinking about food and cooking and, trying to make these fake meats and fake cheeses. And I would literally probably, when I wasn't working, I was in the kitchen. That was it. That was my life. So literally, I was working in a vegan restaurant. I was coming home and cooking or preparing or soaking or something. So it's just that I wasted 3 years of my life. I mean, like I said before, I didn't really waste it. I have that perspective now, but it was just all about food.
That's why some of these vegans post these what I eat in a day videos and recipes like all the time, because that's all they
Yeah,
think
yeah.
about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they're obviously missing something because they think about it all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're just never going to get them out of that until they start feeling the bad effects of it. Because no matter if, I mean, some vegans may also believe that, well, it is healthy for some people, like the blood type thinking that some people like, oh, blood types need meat and then others don't. So I'm okay with you not being vegan, but I have to be vegan because, I'm helping produce more space and more opportunity for you to eat meat, because we're so overpopulated here, that I have to eat veganism. And I also don't want to kill animals and da da da. So you're not going to get them out of that mindset until they start experiencing the bad effects of it personally themselves. And you're not going to be able to convince them otherwise. It's going to have to be their own decision.
Anything mental, such as anxiety, depression.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I was I was also I would say psychologically addicted to marijuana at the time. I would smoke a lot of weed. Um, when I started eating meat, I really didn't have that craving as much anymore. Um, and now that I've eaten raw meat, I felt the raw meat high. I the first time I ate venison tartare, I woke up the next morning and it's like for 6 hours I had this high. And also when I drank like 4 eggs and some milk, and this was a couple days ago in the morning, I felt like what you were saying before in one of your videos, that you listen to music and you can really appreciate it, but yet you're not drugged out, you're not spacey, you're not
Right.
anxious, anxiety, you're very comfortable, you're very confident, you feel in your body. So yeah, I'm just now getting into this, and I would like to say that I'm I'm going to keep eating more and more raw meat and trying to incorporate a lot more of that in my diet. Like yesterday, we go to the farmer's market all the time, and I have an endless supply of eggs, so I don't need any eggs or milk. But I'm looking for a lot of raw meat, and I'm also going to be getting more into hunting with my husband, trying to get more deer and that kind of thing. But I just got some beef liver at the farmer's market, and it's frozen. There's really nothing I can do about that. I really can't get any organ meat without them being frozen. I can specifically ask for it, um, but I really don't know how they're going to feel about that. me saying, no, I want it raw. I do not want it frozen. So that's going to be a little bit difficult because I know that the freezing process isn't really good, isn't the ideal, but it's what I have to work with right now. What are your thoughts about that?
About the freezing?
Yeah.
Freezing meat, it slows down the enzymes, it kills the bacteria, and that's one of the things that makes you so high. So this is why I
Mm-hmm.
don't recommend freezing it. It
Okay.
destroys a little bit of the nutrients. You just gotta imagine when you look through a microscope, all of the life that is in food, when you freeze it, it dies. And then when
Right.
you thaw it, then it kind of slowly starts again. But then you get a different kind of bacteria, which is why when you try to make
Yes.
high meat, maybe you've heard about it from Ajnas, then the meat turns out different and it's a different color and it tastes different because the original bacteria and everything died when you froze it. So if
Mm-hmm.
you ever make high meat, definitely get it fresh, never frozen.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And also, like I said before, I was having acne problems, and right after I started eating the raw eggs, my acne cleared up the next day. Like it goes on and off for me. Um, for a month, I'll have okay skin, like one or two pimples, and then all of a sudden it's like 20 pimples. But during one of those episodes where it was just exploding, I did the eggs, and that was the first time I tried it because I was like, I'm sick of it. I'm trying my best to eat healthy, and this crap is still happening. So I'm going to do the raw. And the next day, all of them that were coming were gone, and the ones that were there already didn't hurt nearly as much anymore. And it's just been, I mean, I still eat crap sometimes because I go and we eat lunch together somewhere, and I can't always eat raw meat, but when I do, I feel like it's the superior food. Like I feel it in my body and I see it in my skin. And I also am seeing a difference already in like some of my teeth because I started getting a cavity, and it's lost its sensitivity now, and I can see it starting to heal. So that's just one week on eating raw meat.
Acne is the toxins leaving the body through the skin. It's the white blood cells and fat. It's your immune system, which is cholesterol and saturated fat. And if you don't get any toxins, then you at the end stop getting the acne. But of course, it can also be stuff from the past.
Right,
That definitely
right,
stops eventually.
right. Okay. Yeah, and I also have read that your liver can regenerate itself pretty quickly. And that the liver has a lot to do with filtering toxins and things like that in your body. And I really did a number on my liver. And I still drink alcohol occasionally, and that's another reason why I have acne, I'm pretty sure, is that I will drink alcohol occasionally, and I know that's terrible for me, but I'm hoping that, you know, eating more of the right foods, I'll have less of an urge to do that. So yeah, I mean, I naturally have more of this like addictive personality, and veganism did not help that at all. I can say that. And like the sugars, all the sugars that I would get from eating vegan, like I said, it would be like a spike in energy, and then I would crash. So yeah, it's just not good.
About what you said before, your husband now is the hunter fisher, yes?
Hmm.
He saved your
Yes.
life,
Yes.
basically.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
that's
did.
great.
But oh yeah, and I was watching a video, another video from Augenis, and he went to that tribe. I forget where, but where they had to like go 5 hours on a boat or somewhere to get to him, and their average lifespan was 130,
The
140, and all they ate was
Philippines.
fish.
Mm.
Okay, Philippines, and all they ate were raw fish, pretty much, and a little bit of fruit,
And
and
coconuts.
maybe something else, and coconuts.
Mm.
Yes. So I thought, well, that's amazing. And I had eaten sushi a lot of times before that, and I love Thai food and Japanese food and all of that, and I love sushi. I've always loved sushi. So, and I always loved rare cooked steak. So, I mean, to me, it was kind of like, well, I've already been eating kind of raw-ish meat, and I could probably get raw fresh fish. I mean, do you eat a lot of raw fresh fish? I don't really see you eating a lot of raw fish in your videos.
True, I don't show it, but I do. Tuna, for example, I eat a
Okay.
lot, and shellfish, also oysters, I eat every week.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm gonna have to find some good raw oysters because I've always loved raw oysters. Like it was weird when I was 8 years old. That was one of my favorite. If we ever went to a fancy restaurant, that's what I would order would be raw oysters, and people just thought that was so weird. So yeah, I mean, I see great potential for me being on this type of diet. I feel like I can really do it, and I've already talked yesterday with a couple of my girlfriends, and I told them about this crazy diet that this crazy new diet that I'm on. And I basically told you everything, or told them everything I'm telling you now. And they were like, wow, I really need to look into that. And that sounds really, really neat. So I'm going to be letting them know how it's going to go. And they both told me that they would be interested in trying it.
Mhm.
So I think that that's really good that we kind of spread the information that what you've been taught is a lie concerning raw meat because most of the like salmonella poisoning and stuff comes from the cooked meat that wasn't cooked all the way, but it probably sat there and like you were saying, the other bacteria grows on it, the bad
Right.
bacteria, and that's why people get sick.
Yeah, the organisms feed on it and created toxins. And of course, the meat itself, when it's really brown, is already toxic, the crust. And it just gets worse
Yeah,
if it's left outside or anywhere.
yeah, yeah. So it just has been totally mind blowing, a total 180 for me, and it's crazy, crazy journey. But I'm glad I'm finally to this point. Veganism brought me to this point of, you know, knowing that it's horrible and it's terrible, and what is good for you because the standard diet didn't ever work for me. Veganism didn't work for me, so now this is pretty much all I have left. And it's going great so far. And it makes the most sense philosophically, environmentally. I mean, vegans talk about it being horrible for the environment for you to eat meat. But if we didn't have our agricultural systems like they are, if animals were just allowed to eat on the plains, eat grass, the bison or whatever, and the waterways were clean and we had a bunch of fish and stuff like that, we would be perfectly fine, hunting and eating those animals rather than trying to control their environment and grow corn and soy and feed them that. And that just wastes so much. So it doesn't even make sense philosophically what vegans are saying. And the funny thing is that is what was being pushed in my philosophy class, which was supposed to be a critical, free thinking, like the most, you could talk about anything, but no one even thought about that. And the philosophers that are being focused on, they live I think in a fantasy world. They can't apply that to reality. I really don't know why this was never thought of before. Like, why didn't we think of how we lived in tribal times? It just is so obvious to me now. And it's sad that that people don't think this way anymore.
Anything else you want to add, or anything you want to say to vegans?
Um, I try not to judge people for what they decide to eat, what they decide to do with their body. I mean, I really don't know if those vegan people are being honest, like the famous ones about being vegan all of the time, that it works for them and whatever, because there have been a lot of people on certain diets and then in the behind the scenes, they eat the food that they're telling everyone not to. So you have some people that are like, well, it's working for me and it's always worked for me and I've been a vegan since I was a baby and all of that. But if you have to live on supplements in order to be healthy or to just function as a vegan, then I would tell them stop being vegan because you're just killing yourself. You know, I really don't think that veganism is good for anyone. That's my opinion. But like I said, I'm trying not to judge anyone about it. I just would tell them, do not tell anyone, convince anyone, or try to act like it's the freaking absolute diet that everyone should freaking have, because it's not. Obviously, I'm living proof of that. A lot of other people are living proof of that. So don't tell me what to eat. I'm not telling you what to eat. Don't tell me what to eat. And if you decide not to eat meat, then more meat for me.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you doing this with me. I just wanted to share my experience, my unique experience and story with everyone, and you've allowed me to do that. Thank you.